One of the things I didn't realize when I first started is how long it's going to take and how hard it is. This panel will help aspiring founders set their expectations accordingly.
When someone's getting ready to start a startup, how long of a commitment is it?
That's an interesting question, and the numbers say that the average company startup from starting the company to exit, it's around averages a life of about 6.5 years. I can throw out another number, and when I was in the corporate world doing strategy, we looked at studies, and it turns out all companies, on average, if you include the biggest companies and the smallest companies in the U.S., and you look at the average life of all of them, it's a lot shorter than you think. It actually works out to be less than 10 years. The message there is there's not a lot of time for you to start the business and make it successful. And so that requires a lot of devotion, a lot of persistence, a lot of hard work to get from startup to presumably the exit for your company.
So one of the questions is when can I quit my day job and jump fully into the entrepreneurship world? And I my thoughts are you have to be very careful. And it's all about you got to pay your bills, well, at least most people do, right? So figuring out when are you going to start hitting that tipping point for revenue? And what's your revenue right now? And how long is it going to take to achieve the monthly revenue that you're getting from your job? And some of the advice I've given to people is it may be 3 or 6 months, it may be even a year by the time you're able to hit that tipping point. So I really encourage people, especially with benefits and health care and all the good things that go along with that it's important to really, really think it through as you're transitioning, unless you just get a fast start out of the gate and you have such a need to scale that you do need to jump in and the revenue's there to back that up.
I notice with a lot of people who wants to start their own business and entrepreneurs who work in a corporate setting, they think that, okay, I'm going to start my company and within a few months or within a few years we're going to hit revenue. And, I like to tell them that it's not really like that. It's a lot of hard hours, it's not 40 hours a week, that's for sure. It's true. 80 maybe, I don't know. It's a lot of hours.
That's a light week. Hours, so.
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of sacrifice. It's staying away from friends because they're out partying and you're working hard on your brand or your company. And I try to make them understand that. And it seems like a lot of people might not understand that going in there.
Yeah, the thing that should spur you to work really hard if you have a startup is understanding how many startups fail. If that doesn't encourage you to work as hard as you can, be one of the successful ones, I don't know what else will. The other thing that should drive a sense of urgency in terms of reaching profitability in a business, again, if you think of the 6.5 years being the average startup to exit time for a startup, or less than 10 years being the average life of a company, that should spur you to get profitable really fast, because you start thinking about it that way. The average business owner then, within one company, has a career with that company about the length of a professional athlete's career. And so if you think of it that way, if you're not profitable for 7 of those years, then how well off are you going to be if you're only profitable for 3 years and don't work as hard as you can to get profitable for a longer life span of your company? At any given time with any given enterprise, and this applies to businesses also, you're either doing better or you're doing worse. So the question you need to ask yourself with a startup is, did I do enough today that I'm doing better? Because if I'm not doing better, then I'm worse off now today than I actually was yesterday. So there's no steady state staying the same. It's maybe a little bit of a frank or a blunt assessment, but I think that's pretty much the way the market functions.
Right. Yeah, on that note, I feel like it's very important for entrepreneurs to continue the education, the learning, putting themselves in situations where they learn a lot of things, new things, and staying in tune with the environment, if you could call that.
I think persistence is another key, and never give up. We've seen some entrepreneurs that may have had a fast start, they may have had a good idea, and they got slowed down by all the headaches that you're going to get by being an entrepreneur. And I think Winston Churchill said it best, right? Never ever give up. And so I think persistence pays off, and persistence takes time, right? So you're not going to solve all the you're not going to have all the answers right off. That it's an ongoing, it's an iterative, it's an organic process. And do not, damn the torpedoes, I think is another phrase that comes to mind, and that you've just got to ram through whatever barriers. And sometimes that can be tough. And I think, one of the things that in talking with fellow entrepreneurs is having a peer group. So you're sitting there, crying in your beer and saying, why did I get into this business? And it's almost like therapy, and I'm sure we've had those and probably had them a few minutes ago, right? But I think having a good support group and people that have been there and done that can be very helpful.
Yeah.